There are moments in royal history when a single decision reveals far more than any official statement ever could. No press conference is needed. No palace announcement appears on the gates of Buckingham Palace. Instead, the message arrives through silence, through closed doors, and through a line that instantly changes the direction of a story that millions have been following for years. That is exactly what appears to have happened behind the ancient walls of Althorpe. For decades, the sprawling Spencer estate has stood as more than just a family home. It is the place where the memory of Diana, Princess of Wales, continues to live outside the machinery of royal institutions and media narratives. While historians debate her legacy and filmmakers revisit her life, Althorpe remains something far more personal. It is where Diana laughed as a child, where generations of the Spencer family built their history, and where the woman who captured the world's heart was finally laid to rest. Yet in recent months, attention has once again shifted toward those quiet grounds, not because of a royal ceremony or a family gathering, but because of reports surrounding a project that could have reopened one of the most emotionally charged chapters in modern royal history. At the center of the storm stands Charles Spencer, Diana's younger brother, and one of the few people still entrusted with protecting parts of her story that the public has never seen. And according to growing speculation in royal circles, he may have made a decision that sent shockwaves from London to Los Angeles. What makes this moment so fascinating is that it is not really about a documentary, a television deal, or even a disagreement between family members. Beneath the headlines lies a much bigger question, one that has quietly followed the royal family ever since Diana's death nearly 3 decades ago. Who has the right to tell Diana's story? Is it the monarchy she once challenged? Is it the media that chronicled every moment of her life? Is it her sons, who carry her memory into a new generation? Or is it the Spencer family, who knew the woman behind the global icon? That question now appears to be at the heart of an increasingly sensitive dispute involving Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, a couple whose public journey has often been viewed through the lens of Diana's legacy. For years, supporters of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have pointed to similarities between Diana's struggles and the challenges Harry and Meghan have described facing in the modern media age. Critics, however, have argued that those comparisons have gradually become a central part of the Sussex narrative itself. Whether one agrees or disagrees with that assessment, there is no denying one reality. The memory of Diana remains one of the most powerful forces in the royal story. Even now, almost 30 years after her death, her influence continues to shape public opinion, family relationships, and the future direction of the monarchy itself. That influence may be stronger today than many people realize. Because while public attention often focuses on the relationship between Prince William and Prince Harry, another figure has quietly maintained extraordinary influence behind the scenes. Charles Spencer has rarely sought the spotlight. Unlike many public figures connected to the royal family, he has generally avoided becoming a regular participant in palace drama. When he speaks, it tends to be deliberate. When he intervenes, it tends to be for a reason. That is precisely why recent developments have attracted so much attention. Royal observers have noticed a growing determination from Diana's brother to preserve the distinction between honoring her memory and commercially expanding it. To some, that may sound like a subtle difference. To Charles Spencer, it appears to be a line that should never be crossed. And that line matters because the approach of 2027 carries enormous significance. The year will mark 3 decades since the world lost Diana. Already, conversations are beginning about documentaries, commemorations, retrospectives, and major media projects designed to revisit her extraordinary life. Producers understand the global interest such projects generate. Streaming platforms understand it as well. The public fascination has never truly disappeared. But as plans reportedly began taking shape behind the scenes, one obstacle stood in the path of anyone hoping to create the definitive Diana project. Access. Access to Althorpe. Access to family archives. Access to the people who knew Diana before she became the Princess of Wales. And most importantly, access to the guardian who controls that door. Because according to many royal commentators, Charles Spencer has become increasingly protective of how his sister's story is told and who benefits from telling it. What happened next would reportedly place him on a collision course with a narrative that has defined much of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's post-royal life. And if those reports are accurate, the consequences would extend far beyond a single media project. They would expose a deeper battle over legacy, loyalty, and the future ownership of Diana's memory itself. As the 30th anniversary of Diana's death slowly approaches, something else has been happening behind the scenes. The global fascination that surrounded her life has never disappeared, but anniversaries have a way of reigniting public attention, and everyone in the media industry understands what that means. Interest, viewership, and enormous commercial opportunity. For streaming platforms competing in an increasingly crowded market, Diana remains one of the few historical figures capable of attracting audiences across multiple generations. People who remember her life firsthand still follow every new revelation, while younger viewers continue discovering her story through documentaries, books, and dramatizations. In entertainment terms, few names carry the same global recognition. That reality reportedly sparked discussions about major projects tied to the upcoming anniversary. On paper, such projects seem inevitable. Every milestone connected to Diana generates renewed public curiosity. Yet according to royal commentators, this particular conversation carried a deeper layer because of the individuals expected to participate. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. For years, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have occupied a unique position in the royal landscape. Unlike other former royal figures, their public identity has often been intertwined with larger conversations about Diana's legacy, media treatment, personal privacy, and life beyond palace walls. Supporters view that connection as natural. After all, Harry is Diana's son. Her influence on his life is undeniable, and he has spoken openly about the impact her death had on him as a young boy. But critics see something different. They argue that references to Diana have gradually evolved from personal remembrance into a central component of a Sussex public narrative, creating an emotional bridge that connects past royal conflicts with present-day controversies. Whether fair or unfair, that perception has become increasingly difficult to ignore. And that is why reports of a Diana-centered media project immediately attracted attention. Because such a project would not simply revisit history, it would inevitably reopen comparisons. Comparisons between two generations. Comparisons between two women. Comparisons between two royal eras, separated by decades, but linked through public memory. For some observers, those comparisons represent a legitimate exploration of recurring themes within royal life. For others, they risk oversimplifying a deeply complex story and placing modern events into a framework that may not fully fit. This is where the situation reportedly became sensitive. Sources and commentators began suggesting that any large-scale anniversary project would likely seek more than archival footage and historical analysis. To achieve true credibility, producers would need something far more valuable: the blessing of the Spencer family. That approval carries extraordinary weight because Diana's relatives occupy a unique position in public perception. While institutions, journalists, and historians may interpret her life through different lenses, the Spencers are often viewed as custodians of the personal side of her story, the family memories that existed long before royal titles entered the picture. Which brings the focus back to Charles Spencer. For years, he has maintained careful control over access to family materials, private records, and locations associated with Diana's childhood. That responsibility has only grown more significant as public interest continues to expand. According to royal analysts, this placed him in an unusually powerful position. Any anniversary project seeking authority would naturally benefit from his cooperation. Any project denied that cooperation would immediately face questions. And those questions could become impossible to ignore, because the issue was no longer simply about television production. It was about validation, approval, legitimacy, the difference between being seen as a respectful tribute and being viewed as something else entirely. Behind palace walls and Hollywood boardrooms alike, people understood the stakes. A successful anniversary project could reshape public conversations for years. A rejected one could trigger a completely different narrative. And as speculation continued to grow, attention increasingly shifted toward Althorpe, where one man appeared to be weighing a decision that would affect far more than a documentary. What few people realized at the time was that Charles Spencer was not merely evaluating a media proposal. He was evaluating what role Diana's memory should play in the next chapter of royal history. And the answer he was reportedly preparing to give would leave some people stunned. The answer, according to growing reports and royal speculation, was not the answer many people expected. 4 years. Public discussion surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle has often focused on palace disagreements, media battles, and family divisions. Yet beneath all those headlines sits something far more valuable than any interview or documentary. Authenticity, the perception that a story is being told by the people closest to it. And that is precisely why Charles Spencer's reported response has attracted so much attention. Because when the brother of Diana, Princess of Wales, questions the direction of a project connected to her memory, people listen. Not because he is a royal, but because he is family. According to royal commentators, concerns reportedly emerged over the growing tendency to place modern royal narratives alongside Diana's experiences from the 1980s and 1990s. To many observers, those parallels have become increasingly common over the past several years. Supporters argue they are legitimate comparisons. Critics argue they risk reducing Diana's unique experiences into a template that can be reused again and again. Charles Spencer appears to fall firmly into the camp of those who believe there is a difference. A significant difference. After all, Diana's story was shaped by circumstances unlike anything seen before or since. She entered the royal family as a teenager, became one of the most photographed women in the world, endured intense media scrutiny during an era with virtually no social media controls, and experienced personal struggles under a level of public attention that remains difficult to comprehend. To those determined to protect her memory, those experiences cannot simply be copied and pasted into another narrative. And that is where tensions reportedly began to rise. Because the closer people looked at proposed anniversary discussions, the more a larger question emerged. Was the focus truly Diana? Or had Diana become the vehicle through which another story would be told? That distinction may sound subtle, but it changes everything. One approach places Diana at the center. The other places Diana in support of someone else's narrative. Royal analysts believe Charles Spencer understood that difference immediately. For decades, he has watched documentaries, biographies, television dramatizations, and endless media interpretations attempt to explain his sister's life. Some were respectful, others were controversial. Yet through it all, he maintained a relatively consistent position. Diana's story belongs to history, not to whoever happens to benefit most from it. If that principle guided his thinking, then his reported hesitation becomes much easier to understand. Because once a public figure's legacy begins serving commercial objectives, the conversation inevitably shifts. The focus moves away from remembrance. It moves away from historical understanding. Instead, attention turns toward branding, messaging, and audience engagement. And for someone as protective as Charles Spencer, that may have represented a line he was unwilling to cross. The implications were immediate. Suddenly, this was no longer a discussion about production schedules or anniversary programming. It became a debate about ownership. Who owns a legacy? Who decides how a historical figure is remembered? And who has the authority to say no? For Prince Harry, the situation reportedly carried an especially painful dimension. Throughout his adult life, he has spoken openly about preserving his mother's memory and ensuring that future generations understand who she truly was. No one can reasonably question the personal connection he feels toward Diana. Yet family relationships are rarely simple. The same memory that belongs to Harry as a son also belongs to Charles Spencer as a brother. And those two perspectives do not always lead to the same conclusions. That reality appears to have created one of the most sensitive conflicts surrounding Diana's legacy in recent years. Because while Harry may see continued public engagement with his mother's story as a way of keeping her memory alive, others may view certain projects through an entirely different lens. A lens focused on preservation rather than expansion, protection rather than promotion. As whispers continued to spread through royal circles, one thing became increasingly clear. Charles Spencer was not merely making a decision about a media project. He was making a statement about where he believed the boundaries should exist. And that statement would soon create consequences reaching far beyond Althorpe, drawing Prince William, palace insiders, and even Hollywood power players into a battle that was becoming less about entertainment and more about the future control of Diana's legacy itself. What happened next is what transformed a private disagreement into a much larger story. Because when conversations about Diana's legacy begin, there is one person whose name inevitably enters the discussion: Prince William. 4 years. public attention has focused almost entirely on the fractured relationship between William and Harry. Every appearance, every statement, and every family event has been examined through the lens of that division. Yet while the world watched the brothers drift further apart, another relationship appears to have quietly grown stronger behind the scenes. The relationship between William and the Spencer family. Unlike many royal disputes that unfold publicly, this connection has developed with very little fanfare. There are no dramatic announcements, no coordinated media campaigns, no carefully crafted headlines. Instead, there has been something far more significant: consistency. William has long positioned himself as a guardian of his mother's public image. Whether through charitable work inspired by Diana's causes, commemorative projects, or carefully chosen public remarks, he has generally approached her legacy with caution and restraint. That approach closely mirrors the attitude many observers associate with Charles Spencer. Both men understand that Diana remains one of the most beloved figures in modern British history. Both men understand that every discussion involving her name generates enormous public interest. And both men appear increasingly aware of the risks that come with turning that interest into commercial opportunity. As a result, royal analysts have begun noticing what they describe as an emerging alignment of priorities. Not necessarily an official alliance, not a coordinated campaign, but a shared belief that Diana's story should be protected from becoming a vehicle for competing narratives. If that assessment is correct, it creates a difficult reality for Prince Harry. Because unlike palace officials or media critics, neither William nor Charles Spencer can easily be dismissed as outsiders commenting on Diana's life. One is her son, the other is her brother. Together, they represent two of the strongest personal connections to her memory. That fact alone changes the entire conversation, and it may explain why recent developments have generated such intense interest among royal observers. The implications extend far beyond family relationships. They reach directly into the business world. Hollywood, after all, operates on confidence. Studios invest in projects because they believe audiences will trust them. Streaming platforms spend millions because they believe viewers will see a production as credible and meaningful. Public perception often determines whether a project succeeds before a single episode is even released. That is why questions surrounding legitimacy matter so much. A project supported by Diana's family carries one level of authority. A project lacking that support carries another. The difference can be enormous. Executives understand this. Producers understand this. Brand strategists understand this. And increasingly, investors understand it as well. The challenge for Harry and Meghan is that public perception has become one of the most valuable currencies in modern media. Their supporters continue to see them as independent voices willing to challenge powerful institutions. Their critics see something very different. They see a couple whose public identity remains deeply connected to royal history despite years of efforts to build a separate path. Those competing views have fueled debate for years. But now a new question is beginning to emerge. What happens if access to Diana's legacy becomes more limited? What happens if key family figures decide certain boundaries should remain in place? Suddenly, conversations that once seemed theoretical become very real. Because Diana's story remains one of the strongest emotional connections linking Harry and Meghan to global audiences. It is a connection rooted in genuine family history, but it is also one that carries enormous symbolic power. If influential guardians of that legacy begin drawing firmer lines around how it is used, the consequences could ripple through future projects, partnerships, and public narratives for years to come. And perhaps most significantly, those consequences would not be confined to royal circles. They would reach boardrooms in Los Angeles, production offices in New York, media companies across Europe. Everywhere people continue trying to understand what Diana's story means nearly 3 decades after her death. Because what began as a debate about a single project now appears to be evolving into something much larger. A struggle over who will shape the next chapter of Diana's legacy. And in that struggle, the most consequential battle may still be ahead. In the end, the most remarkable part of the story may not be the reported rejection itself. It may be what that rejection reveals about the future. For years, discussions surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have revolved around interviews, documentaries, media partnerships, and their evolving place in public life. Every new project has been analyzed through a familiar lens. Will it strengthen their brand? Will it reshape public opinion? Will it change the conversation surrounding the royal family? But beneath those questions lies a far more important one. What happens when the most powerful story connected to that narrative no longer belongs entirely to the people telling it? Because that appears to be the deeper significance of Charles Spencer's reported stance. This was never simply about approving or rejecting a proposal. It was about defining a boundary between remembrance and reinvention, between preserving a legacy and repackaging it, between honoring Diana's story and using Diana's story to support another one. Whether people agree with Charles Spencer's position or not, there is little doubt that his actions have forced a broader discussion about ownership, responsibility, and memory. And perhaps that discussion was always inevitable. As the world approaches the 30th anniversary of Diana's death, interest in her life is only going to increase. New documentaries will appear. New books will be published. New commentators will offer fresh interpretations of events that have already been examined thousands of times before. Yet despite all that attention, one truth remains unchanged. Diana was not a brand. She was not a marketing strategy. She was not a streaming project. She was a real person whose life touched millions of people around the world. That is why debates surrounding her legacy continue to generate such powerful emotions even decades later. For Prince Harry, the situation remains particularly complex. No matter how public the disagreements become, no matter how many headlines emerge, nobody can take away the simple reality that Diana was his mother. His desire to keep her memory alive is understandable. His determination to share aspects of her story is understandable as well. But family legacies often come with competing responsibilities. One person may believe the best way to honor a loved one is to keep their story alive through continued public discussion. Another may believe the greatest act of respect is knowing when certain parts of that story should remain protected. Neither perspective is necessarily driven by bad intentions. Yet when those perspectives collide, conflict becomes almost unavoidable. That appears to be where the story now stands. Not at the end of a battle, but at the beginning of a larger debate. Because the questions raised by Charles Spencer's reported decision are not disappearing anytime soon. Who should control Diana's story? Who decides where the limits are? And what happens when different members of the same family answer those questions differently? Those questions will likely continue shaping conversations long after the current headlines fade away. Meanwhile, another reality is becoming increasingly clear. The future of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle cannot rely forever on the past. Whether their supporters celebrate them or their critics challenge them, the next chapter of their public life will ultimately be judged on its own merits. New projects will succeed or fail based on what they offer audiences today, not simply on their connection to royal history. That may be the most important lesson emerging from this entire situation. Legacies can open doors, but eventually, every public figure must build something that stands on its own. And as Diana's memory approaches another historic milestone, the battle over her legacy may be entering a new phase altogether. One defined not by who can claim her story, but by who can convince the world they are protecting it. Only time will reveal how that chapter unfolds. But one thing is certain: the conversation surrounding Diana, her family, and the future of her legacy is far from over. And now we'd love to hear from you. Do you believe Charles Spencer was right to take a protective approach toward Diana's legacy, or should her story remain open to new interpretations from future generations? And what role should Prince Harry and Prince William play in shaping that legacy moving forward? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the royal family, Diana's enduring influence, and the power struggles shaping the monarchy's future, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next royal investigation. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.